Hey guys, welcome in. It's Brad with College SportsCast, and we are presented by the Fanboys. All right, guys, I think I'm back. I was waiting for my mic to come on there. So, again, I'm Brad with College SportsCast, and we have a guest on with us tonight. I'll get to that in a minute, but I want to say welcome to College SportsCast. I do my show at my shop, Bluegrass Brad's. That's what's behind me. So, if you guys see that, and wondering what it is, I do some ice cream and snow cones, and I also do burgers and fries and all kinds of stuff actually in Kentucky, and that's what is behind me. So next, we're going to welcome Logan to the show. What's up, Rob?
Hey, Brad, thanks for having me. And after this show, I will probably be putting in an order for you, okay, if that's cool.
All right, man. Yeah, we can do that. So are you in Philly?
I'm in New Jersey,
In New
South
Jersey?
So I'm probably about maybe 25, 30 minutes from Philadelphia, or
Okay.
from Wells Fargo, all the link and all that stuff like that.
Right. So Rob does a Nova Nation podcast. If you guys are aware of his show, if not, I want you to check him out. Nova Nation. They do that mainly. He said in season.
Yeah, we're out. We're on a little bit of a break just because there's really not much going on right now, especially with with finals going on and students leaving to go home for a little while. There's really not even practices yet on campus. So there's not much going on at this point, but we'll pick it up. We'll have like an episode maybe in the summer or two just to kind of give you an update of what's going on, what players are practicing and who's new, who's not new.
Yeah, that's actually some stuff that's kind of changed is, now they can actually have a little bit of instruction in the summer.
Yep.
Since COVID. Yeah.
Yes.
It's not a lot, but it's a little bit.
No, and we've actually, it's funny. My son is a 13-year-old basketball player himself. And one of his trainers is a former Villanova player. So every once in a while in the summertime, he'll take Lucas up to the pavilion, and their practice center is right across the way from the pavilion there. And he'll go in there and he'll take him in there and work with them in there. And you'll see the guys in there doing some work in the summertime, which, you really didn't get a chance to see too much. But, I just kind of sneak in because I'm there with my son. But I pay attention to it all the time. I take pictures, I take video just to show what's going on and who's working out and who's not working out. So.
Well, I had somebody you'll know on our show in January. I had Alan Ray on our show in January. About mid January during basketball season, I had him on the show. He was a great guest and very, very gracious, good dude. Knows basketball, loves Villanova. I mean, he is Nova. So, he's, he really is a great dude. So it was fun having him on.
Yeah, he was really the anchor to really start Nova going in an upwards trajectory, right around that 2009, 2010, Jay Wright's new. he's trying to, bring his system in. And Allen was one of the guys that really bought into the system, and it showed because, I mean, what was he? He was almost Big East Player of the Year, I think.
Yeah. He was. I think he was second team All-American his senior year. I think he was on that 4-guard lineup that made it to the Elite Eight.
Yeah,
got beat in the Elite Eight.
One of his boys is playing right now. Kyle Lowry.
Kyle Lowry. Yep. Kyle Lowry. Yep. You're right. Yep. He's still playing. Yep.
Yeah, that was a great team. Very underrated. I used to love Scotty Reynolds back then. I thought he was the best. He was great. I tell my son, I'm like, if you want to watch like good, quick point guards, and I'm not talking the Kyrie Irvins and the Tyrese Maxeys of today. I said, get some film of Scotty Reynolds back in the day. He was good. He really attacked the rim.
So they got knocked out by Florida one year, who won the title, and then they got knocked out by North Carolina one year, and they won the title.
Yep.
I think that was like his junior and senior year, or maybe it was sophomore and junior. I can't remember now, but we talked about it on the show.
That's wild. That's cool. That's awesome.
Yeah.
He's a great guy.
Yeah, he really is, and it was great to have him on. I just thought, since we were talking, I would throw that out there that I had him on the show in January.
That's wild. That's a great connection right there.
All right, so I have our True Victory. This is a veteran-owned sportswear company. Has a great message, and you can scan that QR code to the right of the screen. It'll take you right to the online shop. They have men's, women's accessories. Check them out. They have lots of great stuff there to buy, hats, anything that you want, backpacks, drawstring backpacks. I mean, all kinds of stuff. So here's an idea. Digital gift cards. Father coming up, buy your father a digital gift card. You don't even have to send it anywhere. It's a digital gift card that can be used, and he can purchase and buy anything he wants. So a great idea, great gift. Scan the QR code and use our code to Fanboys for 15% off. It's on the screen there. I'm going to leave that up kind of while we're talking, and we'll get to some stuff that we're going to talk about here, Rob.
Sounds good. I'm ready.
All right, man. So the first thing we were going to talk about is I found an SI article that was actually written yesterday, I think, and it's talking about the top 10. The article is called the top 10 NBA decisions that's going to affect college basketball. Basically, that's what the article says. There's actually a few more than 10 players listed in the article, to be honest with you, technically. There's 10 different teams, but he's got 2 or 3 players, off of each, a few teams that have 2 or 3 players instead of. So it's really 13 in the article, and I might even add one to this while we're talking, just because I'm a Kentucky fan, and there's really 3 guys that are making decisions, and he's only got 2 listed in this article.
Well, actually, I don't know if you've seen just recently, one of them actually is now out. PJ Hall.
Yes, today. I was going to start out with that. PJ Hall is on this list. This, like I said, this article come out yesterday. PJ Hall actually announced today that he is coming back to Clemson and returning to Clemson and taking his name out. So he is one that's on the list that the decision is already made. And it's great news for Clemson. I mean, PJ Hall actually was a week ago, was at the Combine and showed out pretty good. He had some really good games during the Combine playing, and I kind of thought maybe, because there was some buzz about him and how he played at the Combine last week, and I kind of thought maybe that might change his tune, but it's good news for college basketball. they just missed out last year on making the NCAA tournament. And I think PJ Hall has aspirations of, making the tournament and at least trying to make a run to the Sweet 16 or something, at the very least.
I totally agree with everything you said. And I got a question just to ask you real quick. So if you're one of these kids that is on this list, right, what do you think is their main determining factor to go back to their school? Obviously they've played their games. They've done what they needed to do. Some of them have been at the combine. They've shown up. They've produced. What would your thought process be to say, hey, listen, I'm going back to school. I'm gonna wait.
I think that it's changed in the last 2, 3, 4 years with the NIL stuff. So, used to, kids wanted to go to the NBA so they could start making some money. That was the main thing, really, is so they could start making money. Well, we got some guys on this list. Zach Edey is the number one person on this list. Oscar Sheboy's the second person listed on this list. You've got some guys that make some money. Reportedly, and I don't know this for sure, but reportedly Oscar Sheboy made $4 million last year at Kentucky.
Wow. Not bad.
You know what I mean? Like, that's not, that's not pennies. You know what I mean? Like that's
not barely book money.
No, so if he's going to be drafted 50, you know what I mean? And not have a guaranteed contract and blah, 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 you start looking at it and you start weighing things. And I think things are different now because, some of these kids have been stars in college, that they're going to come back and make NIL money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely changed the game a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's changed. Completely. So we'll start with Zach Edey. He's the number one guy on the list. Zach Edey is, in my opinion, proven everything that he can do in the game of college basketball. Now, with that said, he's a 7'5", 7'3", 7'5", big, huge dude, lumbering dude, center, doesn't step out over 8, 10, 12 feet from the basket at the most. And the NBA game has changed, and that's just not part of the NBA game anymore. He reminds you of a Yao Ming or you know what I mean? Like, you know what I'm saying? And years ago, there was a few of those players in the league. Now they look, everybody's shooting threes. 7'1" guys, 7'2" guys. And they're mobile and they can get up and down the floor and the game is spread out. So that's what Edey's problem is. So will a team take a chance on him in the second round? I think so. I think they will. However, again, there's no guarantees in the second round most of the time, money-wise. Actually, there's no guarantees to even make a roster for second-round guys.
Yep.
And Edey could probably go back to school, try to erase the last 2 years in the NCAA tournament and make a run, with Purdue and be an absolute legacy player for Purdue University if he does that. And on top of that, just to say it, he would be the second consecutive returning player of the year to come back to college if he does.
Here I look at it this way. I mean, there's a possibility that he does go. I would say if there's a projection for him, it's got to be like later second round for some of these better teams that are looking for very specific roles that they need on their team to be, kind of plugged in for. But like you said, I mean, the speed of the game for the NBA is just so much quicker than what this kid can really play at. And if you do get picked this year, I think you're actually setting yourself up to be possibly a little bit more of a detriment if you go back to school, because if you truly do show that you cannot speed up your game or you cannot play at this faster pace, or like you said, he doesn't venture out further than 18 feet. If you don't do these things to show these scouts that you're working on your game and you're getting improved, then what have you accomplished by going back? Yes, I understand, for the school itself, you brought it back. He would become a legacy to try to erase what has happened in the past. But at this point in time, you have to, as a kid this age, you have to think about yourself first. And for me, if he did get picked, he has to go. There's no, I'm.
He's not. I don't think he's going to gain anything in the NBA circles by coming back to college.
Exactly. So if you get picked and you have a chance to just make a team that needs a specific role, because these teams later in the second round are looking for that specific person. If you fit that mold that somebody's looking for, then you accept it. You try to go in and you try to earn yourself a spot.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with you 100%. I'm not exactly sure. I haven't heard any rumors on what Zach Edey's decisions making is and all this other stuff. So we're just, kind of having a conversation here and talking about this article. I do know a little bit more on the next two kids that's in this article, and that's because they're Kentucky kids. I cover a lot of Kentucky stuff. Oscar Tshiebwe and Antonio Reeves are listed in this article. You can also throw in Chris Livingston into this one because he is also making a decision. I'll start with Chris Livingston. Chris Livingston is still working out for teams. Matter of fact, he is headed to Los Angeles tonight and has a workout for the Lakers tomorrow. He also has at least one, if not two more workouts scheduled before the 31st. So he's taking it right down to the wire. I am almost certain that Livingston is going to stay in the draft. Mm-hmm. He is if he does get drafted, it'll be a late second round guy. All right. But he's got the agents of Clutch Sports, which is Rich Paul, which is got AD and LeBron and everybody else. Okay. A bunch of big guys. Okay. So I think what Livingston's looking for is some kind of guarantee. Mm. Now, whether or not that's a high pick, I'm not saying that. But if somebody says, hey, we will guarantee you a two-way deal, mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yep.
A guaranteed two-way deal, I think Livingston's going to take that. And I think that's what him and his agents are looking for. That's my opinion on Livingston. I just thought I'd throw that in there. Antonio Reeves was at the G League Combine a day or two before the NBA Combine, and he did have two pretty decent games. He had 16 points and one, and had like 11 or something in the other, and had two pretty decent games against the next tier competition, and showed some ability, but he did not get the invite. There was 8 kids that were invited from that camp to join the NBA Combine. He did not get that invite. There was already 76 kids. So they added 8. That's 84 kids for 58 spots.
That's wild.
the writing's pretty much on the wall. Reeves needs to come back to college. Now, he's been in college 4 years. I think he's like one class short of graduating, so he could take a summer class and technically be a grad transfer if he wants to. So Kentucky's still kind of waiting to see exactly what happens. But I'm almost certain that Antonio Reeves is going to come back to school.
That's good because, I mean, to me, he's one of the better scorers on that Kentucky team. I mean,
he was absolutely
he's actually somebody who can get the ball in the hoop, and that's the main thing. And him coming back definitely boosters that team because that's what they need. They need scorers.
Yeah. So Kentucky's on pins and needles and hoping that he comes back to Kentucky because, like I said, he is close to being a grad transfer. He could technically do a summer class and then be a grad transfer because as long as you've graduated, you can do that at any time. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and then you get to Oscar Tshiebwe. Oscar Tshiebwe is the player of the year from the year before. Just talked about Edey. He's a two-time All-American, one of the absolute monster best rebounders that I've ever seen in this game, and I'm been around for a little while.
Tough guy, yeah.
Yeah, I've been around for a little while. And anyways, so I'll tell you what I know. This weekend he's meeting with Coach Cal. I know that. They have a meeting scheduled. Matter of fact, Cal's going to him. And from everything that I have heard, Cal is going to him to make a pitch for him to come back. Which is different. Most of the time, Cal is being like, okay, go to the NBA, make the money and all that. Mm-hmm. I'm hearing that it's pretty much a full court press to try to get Tshiebwe to come back. And Cal's going to him this weekend. They set it up and we'll see what happens. You know, if he does get drafted, it'll be one of those Edey situations again. I mean, Oscar's the other side of this. Oscar's 6'9". He can step out. He can step out 17, 18 feet and has a good shot from 17, 18 feet. But that's about it. Mm-hmm. He plays in from there. And like I said, the NBA has changed and you got 7'2" guys that are shooting the ball out, you know, lights out there and everything else. And that's just not Oscar's game. Oscar's more of an old school, I don't know, let me throw out some names that make people, Charles Oakley, you know what I mean? Like he's just more of an old school, in the middle, bruiser, get rebounds, tough guy. And he's just an old school guy. And that's not what the NBA is right now, you know? And that's what Oscar's problem is. Oscar's kind of in the same boat, but for different reasons of the same thing that I said that Zach Edey is. You know, the game has changed a little bit, and it's just not. Here's the deal, though. And I'm going to say this. I was just going to say his name, and now it's Michigan State guy on the Warriors. What's his name?
Draymond Green.
Thank you. Draymond Green has made a career out of being a 10-7 guy, mm-hmm. or a 12-8 guy, and won titles. Okay, Oscar Tshiebwe, if an NBA team gives him the chance and puts him on the floor, I would almost guarantee you that he'll at the very least be a 10 and 12 guy. 12, not 8 rebounds. I'm saying 12. He will average 12 rebounds a game if you put him on the floor. And I mean 20, 25, 30 minutes. He'll average 12 rebounds. He's that good of a rebounder.
You know, the way when you look at the projections of where possibly he could go, It is late second round, but there's teams like the Celtics who are playing right now who need that toughness, could use that rebounding, use that size like you were just been describing. So there's teams like that definitely.
And a guy like Draymond Green, that's what he's done for a championship caliber team and been that tough guy for the the 3-point bash. What is it they call themselves? The
Bash Brothers, or
the Bash.
That used to be Canseco and McGuire way back in the day.
No, it was something, bros.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
I don't know. I was trying to think of the little catchphrase that they got for him, but I can't think of it.
Splash Brothers.
Splash Brothers. Thank you. There you go. Yeah. Yep. And that's what Draymond has been for them, has been the rebounder, tough guy. And that's what some people get upset with Draymond, but that's his role. That's what he's supposed to do.
Right. And a lot of teams need that. I mean, if you look, my team, the Sixers, they went out and purposely got PJ Tucker for that role.
Yeah.
You have on the Celtics now Grant Williams. Grant Williams is a little bit, smaller. So I guarantee you they're probably looking for somebody a little bit larger than Grant Williams, because Grant gets killed. You saw him in that series with the Sixers. He got beat up pretty bad when he was facing Embiid. So that's
because Grant's like 6'6" or 6'7".
That's what I'm saying. They need some bigger size down there.
Yeah.
And I think that's what they could be looking for.
He is a tough guy, but when you put him up against a 7'1" guy that's 280, right. I mean, it's a difference.
Yeah. So I think Oscar can definitely find a place on the team, and
absolutely.
A role on the team, and
that's where Oscar's going to be strong. He's going to be the tough guy rebounder on the team, and if he can find that role, he will be successful in the NBA on a good team. It won't be one of these bad. It'll be a good team.
Yep.
That wants him. Absolutely.
Yep. It's a piece. It's a piece that's missing from one of these teams that's needed to, put them in, in the next level, or take them to the next level.
Right.
So.
All right. So next on the list is Terrence Shannon from Illinois. Terrence had a pretty solid year with Illinois at 17 points a game last year. He's projected to be in the top half of the second round, is where he's projected. There has, over the last 4 or 5 years, there's been several top half second rounders that have landed some guarantees. Yep. It didn't used to be a thing until about 4 or 5 years ago, and now there's been several guys each year that's been in that top half of the second round that's landed some guaranteed money.
Shannon Jr., he's very athletic. He's that slasher type. He plays good defense. I don't want to say he's a 3-and-D type guy, but he could possibly play that 3 role on a team, depending upon what team he goes for. I mean, on some projections have him going to the Hornets. If he's on the Hornets, he's going to play. He would have to play more of that 3 role just with what they already have there. So, right. I mean, I can see that happening for him. And he's very, the thing he has for him is he's very athletic. He's kind of, one player to compare him to, but I don't want to. But Mikal Bridges, that type of player, he kind of fits that mold. I mean, Bridges definitely elevated his game when he went to the Nets. But back when he was on the Suns, that's kind of the role that, Shannon Jr. is going to play.
Right,
on an
right. Yeah, I agree. And I think it's going to be – I hate it for college basketball, but I think for Shannon Jr., he probably should stay in the draft.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Definitely.
Don't you think? I think so.
Yes, I don't think this is one of the more definitive not going back to school
players. That's on this list. Yeah, that's on the list. Yeah. So next we got two UConn guys who were starters on the national championship team, Andre Jackson Jr. and Tristan Newton. And they are both starters, like I said, off the championship team. You are a Villanova guy, so you should know. I'll let you kind of talk about these two guys, and you probably know more about them than I do. So, what do you think about their decisions?
Well, I actually saw these guys up close and personal because I was at that March 4th Villanova UConn game where UConn just spanked the floor with us, and Jackson Jr. went off that game against Villanova. He is definitely one. I think he's mid second round pick. I definitely can see him going. One of the teams that they have him listed or connected with are the Milwaukee Bucks. I think that's a great fit for him because, you put him in that McConaughey role that he's playing and maybe Grayson Allen type play. You fit him in that role. I think that's a perfect fit for him. Tristan Newton, I'm going to be completely honest with you. I think he needs to come back to UConn. I don't think him staying in the draft is a wise move. I think this is more of all right, we just won the championship. Let me get my name out there and see what happens. Kind of like a Dante DiVincenzo did from Villanova when they won.
Yeah.
But Dante had, a lot more going for him when it came to, size and what he could, do as a player. But Newton, I think, definitely needs to come back and have another year and play again for a very, very good coach at UConn with Danny Hurley. That's his best bet.
I mean, listen, at least getting one of those two guys back would definitely make UConn a contender in the Big East again.
Yes.
With some of what they have. So the next guy is a Big East guy as well. So he's from Marquette. Olivier Prosper is on here, and I'll let you kind of talk about him. You saw firsthand. So
Prosper was one of those more streaky guys. He could score. He averaged almost about like 13 points a game for Marquette this year over the season. I mean, Marquette had obviously a very good run.
Oh yeah, I mean they've had a bad showing in the tournament, but all season long they were great.
Yeah, and I was always I really like Shaka Smart. I think he's a great coach. I think he's a great coach to develop these kids. So Prosper to me should definitely go back and get another year. That would be wise for him. I just don't think he doesn't have enough polish on his game to score yet. And I think that's something that he needs to develop more. He needs to be averaging, instead of 13 points, he needs to be averaging like 17, 18 points a game for him to get really good consideration. Because, I mean, he's a big guard. He's 6'8", So he's a big player, and he plays, more of a guard position. So he's definitely one that needs to come back as well.
All right. So Kobe Brown is the next guy on this list. I did see him play probably a little bit more than you did this past year. I would venture to say, he had a really great season under first-year coach Dennis Gates at Missouri last year, and worked his way into some draft consideration, at the very least. I don't know exactly what his status is as far as I'm sure he's going to be a second rounder if he does get drafted. I'm pretty sure that's where he's another one of those guys that's going to be in that Grant Williams. We were talking about him. He's an undersized kind of a forward tough guy. That's going to be his role probably in the NBA for Kobe Brown. He's a great player, averaged nearly 20 points a game. all I can tell you is this: if he were to come back to Missouri, for having an effect on college basketball, it would be a great that would be like I really think Missouri will be a contender in the SEC if Kobe Brown comes back. That's where I'll leave it. I don't know exactly what he does, but the reason why we're talking about this is the deadline's May 31st. Today's May 25th, and we are going to be finding all this out. These guys that we're talking about, in the next 5-6 days.
Yep.
They all have to make a decision by May 31st. The next is 2 guys off of Creighton, who again is a Big East team, and you're actually a good guy to have on the show with this one. So Trey Alexander,
There's a lot of Big East guys on this list.
There is a lot of Big East guys on this list. Yep. Trey Alexander and Ryan Kalkbrenner are the 2 guys from Creighton. They went to the Elite Eight, of course, last year. Struggled a little bit early. I think Ryan is the one that was hurt, wasn't he? Wasn't Ryan the one that was hurt early in the season?
Yeah. It wasn't anything major. He missed a couple
games. Missed a few games. And missed 2 or 3 games, something like that.
Yeah. With him, the biggest thing for him is he needs more size. He's kind of, he's tall. He's over 7 foot, but he's like he's a thinner 7-footer. And if he wants to take that jump to the NBA, he can kind of somewhat get away with it in the Big East just because the Big East, certain teams don't have that like super size centers. So he can kind of get away with it a little bit. But if he has aspirations to get in the NBA, he needs to fill out more. He needs to stay in college. He needs to work on his game, because just being over 7 foot at this point in time, unless you have some kind of game behind you, that's not like an advantage anymore. We literally were just talking about this for.
He's got some great defensive skills too.
Yes. Yep. And
he really does. Yeah.
He averaged about 16 points a game. He had about 7 rebounds a game. But like I said, my opinion would be he would be somebody who would benefit from another year of playing in college.
So what about Trey Alexander?
Trey Alexander,
pretty savvy guard.
Yeah, only a sophomore. Definitely a savvy guard. Me personally, I would say he should return, but I think he could be somebody who might try to test the waters a little bit. And all these guys are trying at this point in time to get as much information from teams or scouts of what possibly their upside could be, and if they have a chance to catch on somewhere. There have been players that weren't drafted that basically showed up, got camp invites, and made teams. Cole Swider from Villanova, he transferred to Syracuse, played for Syracuse for 1 year, went into the draft. I think everybody in the world was telling him to go back to Syracuse. He stayed in the draft, and he unsigned, went on the Lakers, made their G League team, and did a two-way, and next thing you know, he's part of the team. So, all these kids just got to trust what they think they have. Trey Alexander, from a standpoint of what I think should happen, I think he should come back, but I think he's going to be one that might test and see where he goes. Just to base, because you said savvy guards, they're at a premium. Because this is definitely more of a shooting, drive, point guard league now. So it'd be somebody who would stay in and just see what happens. And worst case scenario, try to sign somewhere as a free agent.
Right. All right. That's good stuff, man. Reese Beekman from Virginia is the next guy. And he's probably one of the best defenders in college basketball last year. And he played at Virginia. Most people probably don't recognize a lot about him just because he was at Virginia and they wasn't all that great last year and stuff like that. But he is probably one of the top defenders in all of college basketball last year, and he's got a decision to make. What do you think? What do you think about his decision?
I think he stays in. He is projected to be right in that middle of the pack in the second round. Teams that were interested in him, Sacramento Kings, which I think would be a great fit for him. Sacramento has a lot of scoring. It has a lot of offense. And guess what it needs? Somebody to stop the ball and the play. And there you go.
That's true.
There's your person right there. You said it. You described it. You described him yourself. That would be a perfect fit. Some defense on an offensive-minded team. Yep. And there you go. And to me, if any of these guys, there's probably maybe Terrence Shannon Jr., but him and Beekman could probably be the two that would maybe get a guaranteed contract in that second round.
Okay. That's good. That's good stuff there, man.
Yeah.
PJ Hall, we already talked about him at the top. He was the next on the list. He did announce today that he is coming back to Clemson. So Clemson fans, Jay from Defend Boys is all happy that PJ Hall's coming back. And then we got Keontae Johnson from Kansas State, and he's a really interesting case because he had all the health issues at Florida and set out for almost 2 years. Wasn't even sure if he was going to get to play basketball anymore. Comes and finally gets a chance and transfer because Florida wouldn't even play him. And transfers out and goes to Kansas State and has a really great year, not only for himself, but for Kansas State. Put him with Norvell together, and they made such a great run. And, I don't know. You may know better than I do. Does he have a chance of getting – I mean, do you think he will get drafted in the second round, or is he one of those fringe guys that just might not get drafted?
I think he's more of a fringe guy. To me, what would benefit him the most, and I just say this because of his lack of playing over the last couple of years, I think if he goes back to school, back to Kansas State, and has another year like he did this year, then you're looking at him in maybe early second round next year in the draft. So this is somebody who I think
he definitely could be a contender for Big 12 Player of the Year.
Yeah, I think he needs to prove that he can, just from a health standpoint, stay on the court and play another season and do what he did here. If he does that, that puts him in a way different scenario than he's in right now. If you ask, if you want my opinion on it.
The other side of that, I was kind of thinking, the reason why I was asking you is he fringe or is he kind of safely in that second round? Because if he's safely in the second round,
why risk it?
Because of what he's went through and the possibilities, he might just want to cash out now and get there and get what he can now.
Right. Which makes sense. But
if he's a fringe guy and he might not even get drafted, then I kind of agree with you. Then, maybe because he could possibly be a contender for Big 12 Player of the Year. Now, Keontae Johnson, some of these guys that we were talking about earlier, he's a little undersized for his, for what he does and his position. Like for NBA, he'll be fantastic in college.
Oh, yeah.
He'll be fantastic in college if he comes back to Kansas State. I'm just talking about his NBA potential.
If he does make an NBA team, he's going to have to make it as a 2, not a 3, because like you just said, I don't think he doesn't have the size for a 3.
Do you think he can do that? Can he make it as a 2?
And that's the reason why we need to see more of what he can do. We need to see more of him actually shooting and and judge it that way. Now, like you said, if my opinion is, I think he's a fringe to just outside of the second round. So that would be the reason why I would make my decision for him and say, I got to come back. And this is somebody right here that really needs somebody working with him to try to rattle as many phones as they can to try to get some kind of judgment on what these guys think or where they think he's going to go. Because this decision for him, like you said, could be very, very important, because if there's a chance you're going to take that chance, you can get that money. And that could be the way to go. But if people are in your ear saying, hey, listen, you're probably right outside, you could probably maybe go as a unsigned and try to go somewhere. To me, if that would be my route and that's what they put in front of me, I would say, all right, listen, I'm going to go back. I'm going to show everybody that I can do this. And I'm sure that would, elevate his status as far as where he's picked for next year.
Right. That's good stuff, man. I appreciate that. So that kind of concludes our NBA college decisions talk. That was the list that we had. I threw Chris Livingston in there. It was the 14th guy instead of the 13, just because he's another guy that I knew some stuff on. So we'll move on to our next segment. But before we do that, remind people that the Veteran Sportswear Company True Victory is up on the screen. You can scan that QR code and use our Defend 15% off coupon there for that. And kind of throw that out there and remind people of that. I said they're veteran owned. A weekend, a great idea. Father's Day's coming up. They have digital gift cards. You don't have to send anything. You can just give to you for their gift card, and they can buy whatever kind of gear they want. Most dads, I'm a dad, would like that. Don't you agree, Rob?
I hear you. I totally agree with that one.
Yeah. I mean, I'm pretty sure most dads would like that, man. I'm almost positive of it. All right, man. So we're going to move on to a little bit of college football talk. And this one is another article. This is actually a Bleacher report from 2 days ago. And it talks about the best under the radar impact transfers for college football in 2023. So again, this is under the radar impact transfers. Everybody's going to talk about Sam Hartman and Devin Leary to Kentucky. And, so there's a whole list of the top guys, and most people go through all that and been talked about. So we're going to talk about some of the under the radar guys that might be able to have an impact on some teams. And the first one is a guy who actually signed in South Bend to start out with. Phil, and I'm going to probably butcher a few of these names just so you know.
I see them coming up that I know. I have no idea how to say it. So
yeah, there's one for sure that I'm absolutely gonna butcher.
I got you on that.
Do you got it?
Well, no, I'm just saying I'm right there with you.
Yeah. All right, so Phil Jerkovec.
I think that's it. Yep.
I think it's Jerkovec.
Yep, pretty sure.
All right. He played at Boston College the last 2 years. He originally signed with Notre Dame. He is transferred to Pitt. He's a former four-star player, a four-star recruit, and played 2 years at Notre Dame, went to Boston College, played 2 years there. Last year, he had over 2,500 yards, 17 touchdowns, and only 5 picks. And so, he's a quarterback that's going into an offense that just had Pickett and had the guy that transferred out. There was a USC guy. What was his name? Slovis. There you go.
Yeah, he just
had Slovis last year, and he somehow transferred out. I don't understand some of these moves, but he transferred out. So you've got him coming in here in an offensive system with Pitt that, they run a good offense, and they had Jordan Addison that had a star year. They've had Pickett, and Slovis last year had a pretty good year for them. So Pitt runs a good offense, and I think him coming in as a grad senior for 1 year at Pitt possibly could be an impact for them.
Well, to me, the biggest thing going is something you kind of touched on a little bit. That offense, he's now reunited with his offensive coordinator from Boston College.
Right.
So
he is.
Frank, I think is Gignetti or something.
Gignetti. Yeah.
Was very familiar with him from their time at Boston College. And this guy, he's a dual threat quarterback. He can run, he can throw. So I think he fits in perfectly. Now, Slovis was, I think, very, very good last year. So he's going to have some major shoes to fill. Hopefully that doesn't tarnish what he's able to do, because they're always going to compare him to Slovis. I hope that doesn't happen. But, and
that might be why Slovis transferred out, because everybody was comparing him to Pickett.
Yeah, that could be.
Maybe. I mean, I don't know.
Listen, being compared to Pickett's not a bad thing. I mean, he's the starter for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So,
right.
That's not a bad thing in my eyes.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they've had a good run the last few years at Pitt, and bringing him in, like I said, he's a former 4-star recruit, signed with Notre Dame, played at Boston College, and now is a grad transfer and playing in a great offensive system. And you did mention that he's getting to play with his offensive coordinator now at Pitt. So we'll see. He could be an impact for Pitt this year. The next one is a running back, Treshaun Ward. He is transferred to Kansas State. Treshaun Ward did. He was a state guy last year, and he's transferred to Kansas State. Kansas State surprised everybody and won the Big 12 championship last year. Was a 3-loss team and still won the Big 12 in the conference championship game, but they had a great season. They're needing to replace some guys. They got drafted.
They're
running back.
Their best running back, Deuce Vaughn.
Deuce Vaughn.
Their team last year.
Right. Yeah.
And this guy fits the mold of Deuce Vaughn.
Right. Treshaun Ward is gonna step in and try to fill that void for Deuce Vaughn, who they have just rode for the last couple of years with Deuce Vaughn, and so we'll see what happens. I mean, he averaged 6.6 yards per carry last year, 628 yards. Now they had a kind of a 3-back rotation.
Yes.
At Florida State last year. So he wasn't on the field all the time. They had a rotation that was going around, and he was one of the backs that was in that rotation. But now this year with Kansas State, he'll get a lot more carries at Kansas State.
Yeah, Kansas State has DJ Giddens returning as well as a running back. So, but it'll be definitely a lot more opportunity at Kansas State than he had at Florida State. And it's funny, I saw an article about Treshaun when he was talking about, they asked him what the big difference was between Florida State and Kansas State so far. And he said that there were so many distractions at Florida State that now that he's at Kansas State, there's no distractions. It's just all about football, and there's more of a focus for him. So I definitely think him going from the craziness of Florida State to more of a I don't want to say secure, but you know what I mean, like more of a even keeled,
Focused. Yeah.
focused Kansas State team, I think will definitely be a huge thing for him.
Cool, man. That's good stuff. Our next one on the list is Andrew Armstrong, a wide receiver that is transferring to Arkansas. He had 900 and hang on a minute, make sure I read this right. With Arkansas, I want to make sure that I read this right, but they have one of the best quarterbacks in the country returning. Arkansas does, first of all.
Yes.
They've had one of, with KJ Jefferson, they've got one of the best returning quarterbacks in the country, I believe, as far as a returning quarterback. You got Caleb Williams, and then I would venture to say that maybe KJ is second. Jefferson. I said Johnson. Jefferson.
Yeah. I also like what is his name? Maka from North Carolina as a he's a big strong candidate. He's going to be up.
Drake May,
that's it.
Drake May, you got Drake May, and then the other one that I can think of off the top of my head would be Washington that transferred from Indiana, Michael Penix.
Okay. Yep.
Michael Penix Jr. That'd be the ones off. That'd be the ones off the top of my head. But Arkansas really passes the ball. He's coming into an offense that is going to be probably a stellar offense. They're going to showcase KJ Jefferson as much as they can. He's got a cannon of an arm. He kind of reminds you of, in my book, I think he's got more talent and is better than Anthony Richardson, who was just picked fourth in the draft.
Wow, that's pretty good. That would be good, man. Richardson, the story's still out on him, but
it is. But I'm telling you, you put them on the field together and you actually see them play. KJ Jefferson outplays him every time. He has for the last year and a half, on the field. Now, does Anthony Richardson have more there? Sure.
Potential.
He's got that kind of talent, but can he find it? Can he harness it? Can he develop it? Can he, you know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of questions.
Right.
And I think KJ Jefferson is shown that he's got the skills to do it. And I don't think Richardson has.
Right. And for this kid, this Andrew Armstrong kid, he's coming into an Arkansas receiving core. They lost how many receivers to the draft? So they need to really replenish. He's one of 3 transfer wide receivers that is coming in to Arkansas. So he's definitely going to have an opportunity to play, definitely have a chance to make an impact. And
he's transferring from Texas A&M Commerce.
Yep.
Is where he's transferring from. And I want to make sure that I got it right. He had 62 catches for 1,020 yards and 13 touchdowns. So
they're Division II though, right? I believe. I think they're Division II.
Yeah, I believe they're 2. Yeah.
So it's going to be definitely a little bit of a jump up.
Oh, it will be. Yeah.
For him. But like I said, he does have the talent. He's 6'4". He's a big receiver. So he's definitely got a chance to make a big impact on that team, the way everything's set up. Great quarterback.
FCS is what it's called now. That's what they are. Yeah, not F. I'm trying to remember which one's right. Is it BS or CS?
I think it's CS.
I think it is too. That's what I was thinking. They changed it. It used to be Division I, 2A, and all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Like, it used to be all that, but they don't call it the same thing anymore.
No.
All right, so the next guy on the list is Trey Harris, a wide receiver that has transferred into Ole Miss. So he's transferred into Lane Kiffin's offense. I'm not exactly sure who Lane Kiffin's quarterback is going to be yet, but he's got 3 guys that have transferred in. It's one of the strangest things that I've seen. I've talked about it a lot on my show. I just don't understand how you have 3 guys that want to be number 1 transfer to the same darn school to be a quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
2 to have a competition, but how do you get the 3rd guy? How do you get Walker Howard to transfer there after all that? I don't really understand. But
Listen, know how a lot of these guys, it's because it's SEC. That's what it is. Just the opportunity or the chance to play for an SEC team. That's really what it comes down to now with the way that these conferences are. Just the chance you're willing to take. That's why there's 3 in there right now.
Yeah. And at the very least, Ole Miss is going to have a couple of guys that have 50 catches.
Mm-hmm.
At the very least. You know what I mean? They have that kind of offense. They're going to have, at the very least, they're going to have a couple of guys that have 50 catches, 50-plus catches. So, you've got Trey Harris transferring in. And, on this offense for Lane Kiffin, they are probably right. He probably can have an impact.
I think so. It's set for him to do that. Other than him playing in a very tough conference, he's got the setup there and an opportunity to play.
All right, the next guy is the guy we were talking about that I'm going to butcher up this name. So Olawase, Almost Soto.
That's pretty good.
Almost Soto. Something like that.
I think that's pretty good.
He's an edge, and he transferred from Oregon State. I don't know. I'm not even going to try it again.
No, that was good.
Yeah, I'm not even going to try that again. All right, so Oregon State is coming off of a 10-win season. And, they're dreaming of possibly winning the Pac-12 this coming year. And I'm not saying that they're going to. Everybody's going to say, oh, wait a minute, USC and blah, blah. I get it. I understand. But I'm just saying from Oregon State standards, from their own, within their team, within their concept, they're coming off a 10-win season, and they're dreaming of making some waves out there, This guy is transferring from Wyoming. He was a redshirt freshman last year from Wyoming. He had 46 tackles, 7.5 for a loss, 6.5 sacks for Wyoming last year. And, he's an edge rusher, and it's something that Oregon State on their defense is pretty well known for. Mm-hmm. They will they'll know exactly where to put him and how to use him and teach him. So it's a name to look out for, even though I can't really pronounce the name right.
Now, this guy –
Double O. We'll call him Double O.
This guy he was really sought after when he announced he was going into the transfer portal. There was a lot of teams that were looking for him just because of his ability, his size. He's over 250 pounds. He's built well, and he's going to be.
Yeah, he has NFL potential.
Yeah, and he's going to be a boost to that defensive line for Oregon State. And a lot of teams were after him, so him going to Oregon State was definitely a big victory for them for getting him.
Yeah, it's so look out for him. Like I said, I'll call him Double O from now on.
I like it.
You like it? All right, we'll call him Double O. All right, so the next guy is another Pac-12 guy. He's transferred in. He's a linebacker. He's going to Arizona. Justin Flowe, I think is how you pronounce his last name. It's Flowe. There's an E on it, but I still think it's Flowe is how you pronounce it. Is that right, as far as you know of?
Yep, I'm pretty sure that's right.
All right. So he missed most of 21 with an injury. But he transferred from Oregon is where he transferred from. So anybody that goes to Oregon, is a top-notch recruit. And he's played in 12 games, is all he's played in 3 years at Oregon, but that's because of injury.
Right. This guy's biggest thing is he needs to stay on the field. He's a former high school defensive player of the year.
Yeah.
He's a 5-star recruit going into Oregon. This guy has all the talent and athleticism there is. He just needs to stay on the field.
His very first game in the 2021 opener, he had 14 tackles. I mean, he's a linebacker. He had 14 tackles his very first game, and then gets hurt.
Yep.
And just has not been able to stay healthy.
Right. Yep.
For an entire season.
His biggest goal is to complete a season, and he could be a difference maker. I'm just not sure how good Arizona is going to be as a whole in that Pac division.
No, they brought in a couple of kids. I mean, they're trying. The coach is trying out there. But to be fair, a couple of years ago they were a 2 or 3 win season. 2 or 3 win season a couple of years ago. I think they did a little better than that last year. I want to say they was around 5 or something.
Yeah.
Last year
in 500, but that to me that's realistically where they might end up this year as well. Are you shooting for a 500 record? I mean, Oregon has been a team in the past that has been competing for Pac titles.
Right. And he transfers out from Oregon and goes to Arizona.
Right. So this is just, I think, somewhere where I think he felt maybe he needed a change of scenery to maybe, get him back on the field, maybe get him focused, maybe to, at Oregon, he was known as an injury-prone player. So maybe now going to
fresh start,
and getting through a season, he can kind of get that behind him and then make an impact.
Right. And that's what this list is guys that could possibly make an impact with their teams. So he's one of those. And then our I think this is our last one. It is, isn't it? Yep. This is our last one. Our last guy is RJ Moten.
Listen, I'm going to stop you. This is the guy that's going to make the most impact out of this list.
Yeah, I agree. RJ Moten, he's a safety. He's transferred to Florida and has made the college football playoff the last 2 years, won Big Ten titles for Michigan, and been on the field.
Yep.
He's been a contributor both years.
Started 15 games.
Yeah. Been a contributor both years in 21 and 22. Safety is probably going to be a pretty big impact player for Florida on that defense next year, would be my guess.
Yep. His father played for the Gators. His dad was Ron Moten years ago. So maybe that's what drove him home to come home to Florida. But I'm going to tell you, Florida was in dire need of D-backs. Losing in the draft or just the way that some of these up-and-coming D-backs have been playing. He is going to be day one starter back there.
Oh, absolutely.
Possibly even he has 2 seasons left of eligibility. I mean, he could possibly even be a captain on that defensive side. I mean, that's how this guy is going to be important for this Florida Gator team. Oh,
I agree with you. I mean, he's definitely going to be a starter, Because let's face it, Florida over the last 2 or 3 years doesn't have quite the talent that Florida normally has.
Mm-hmm.
They've fallen off just a little bit.
You know what though?
Defensively, they were already they have a good 11. All right, like they have a regular, like there's normal stuff 11. The problem with Florida has been the last few years is they don't have the depth that they used to have.
Mm-hmm. Right.
That's the problem. And when you start losing guys, or guys need a break or need to come out of a game for a little bit, and you got to plug guys in, they're not the same talent level as what has been at Florida. And that's the reason why Florida's kind of fell off. That's what I think.
Right. And listen, it's gotten a lot harder down in Florida to recruit these guys to the Gators. 10 years ago, everybody in Florida wanted to play and be a Florida Gator. But with their turnover in coaching, having all these coaches kind of come and go recently, I think has been a big determinant when it comes to just recruiting players to come to Florida, because now these other teams back in Florida, the Florida States, the Miamis, the Florida Atlantics, the South Florida, there's a lot of
Central Florida.
Yeah, Central Florida. There's a lot of good teams down there that are now options for these kids. But 10 years ago, 15 years ago, there was really Florida was it. Maybe you had Florida State a little bit, maybe going back a little bit further, but Miami kind of fell off. So now
20 years ago, maybe Miami was still there,
but now things are starting to pick back up down in Florida. So there's more of a challenge to get these top recruits. And Florida, a lot of kids in Florida, where do they go? They go to Alabama. They go to Tennessee. They go
Georgia.
to Georgia.
They go to Georgia. A lot of them go to Georgia.
You're losing to out-of-state universities for your recruitment. So that's the reason why I think Florida has been inconsistent. But bringing somebody like this who is a consistent starter, who knows what they're doing and can come in and establish himself as a leader. Like I said, I didn't mean to cut you off in the beginning when we were introducing him, but if you're looking at this list, this is the gentleman that I would star as the most impactful for any guys on the list.
That's good stuff, man. So again, this is Rob, and Rob and I are in a network called Let's Talk Sports together. And that's how that we have know each other and know anything about each other. And Dan is Dan Harris is the guy that owns, leads, has developed, whatever you want to call it, Let's Talk Sports. It is a wide range network of sports podcasts, and Rob's show, Nova Nation, is part of that network as well. And got some news. They've joined forces with Sideline Sports. And while Rob is on the show, I kind of wanted to mention that while he was on with us and talk about that. So are you excited about the potential here with Sideline?
Yeah, we I've been doing this in the NFL for the NFL season. I was doing some wrap-up shows on Sunday nights. I have a talk show on Tuesday nights with the network, and we just started this past week a sports betting show with me that I just started actually last night. It debuted, and on that show last night, I think I was one of the first ones to mention the agreement, the however you want to call it,
the partnership, or whatever it is.
It's very exciting. And when Dan had spoken to me about it, the number one thing I said to him was, this gets us out there to more of an audience. And I said, you're bringing guys like me, guys like you. I mean, this is kind of my thing that I kind of do for fun. I enjoy talking, but it's not my career. But now you have brought me to so much more of an audience. It's amazing. And I can't say enough good things about Dan Harris, what he's done for me, my family, for this community. It's incredible. So and it's great for him to be able to have that accomplishment as far as doing something like this. It's great.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Dan's been great to me as well since I met him, and he messaged me as well the other night. Um, before this was a done deal, I guess you could say. And was excited to tell me the news and everything. So Dan's a great guy, trustworthy guy, and a stand-up guy, and we're all excited to be part of the whole Let's Talk Sports group being a part of Sideline Sports. So I wanted to put that out there. Rob is going to be a part of that as well with Nova Nation. Maybe a couple other things that Rob does. I'm not real sure. So
yeah, I'm busy in the beginning of the week, which is good. And I usually have to leave my weekends open just because I have a son who plays AAU basketball. So he's on a travel team.
right.
So we have a lot of stuff going on the weekends. But we actually do a show together. I forgot to mention that. How can I forget that? Me and my son, we do a show on Sunday nights where we talk about the NBA.
Okay. That's cool.
Yeah, it's fun.
That's cool. Get to do a show with your son. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, 13-year-old, and he thinks he knows it all. So it's fun.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I get that. Yeah. All right, man. Rob, we appreciate you being on with us. I appreciate you being on with us. Like I said, had a couple of guys that got an AAU basketball coach, and he's traveling tonight, and a guy that was working. So Rob filled in for me tonight, and I appreciate it.
Hey, Brad, thank you so much for having me. It was a great time. I enjoyed myself, and anytime you need anything, just hit me up.
All right, man. Sounds good. I appreciate it.
Thank you, man.
All right. Yeah. Have a good night.
Take care.
All right. All right, guys. That was Rob Logan with Nova Nation. Can you click off? Because I'm going to stay on for a minute.
Oh, I'm sorry. My bad.
Do you know how to do it?
No.
This is his first time being on.
I got you. Leave. It says a big thing there.
Yeah.
My eyesight's going. Hey, thank you for having me, man.
All right, man. All right, thanks. All right. Yeah, it was his first time being on with me. So, all right. So I'm going to let Howie Fresh do his thing here and put him up. We're featured on the Real Fresh channel, and I'm going to put his stuff up there and let Howie talk about his channel.
Hey, I am Hal Fresh here to tell you about the Real Fresh channel. That's right, youtube.com/the Real Fresh channel. We are a network aiming to bringing you various content each and every day, different types of podcasts, different type of content. Anything from college SportsCast and fresh takes for some sports. We also got You Want to Do What? We got the Wrestling Corner. We got live stream. Just go over to youtube.com/the Real Fresh channel and hit us up today. Thank you for checking it out. Appreciate your time.
All right, guys, that was Howie Fresh with the Real Fresh channel. Check him out. We're on there on Sunday nights. He's got lots of stuff, so check him out. All right, I want to get to just a little bit of talk for my stadium rent article. I put out a stadium rent article today titled Kentucky Basketball Bold Roster. predictions for 2023-2024. Check it out on stadiumrant.com. I want you guys to check out my article. I'm getting some good feedback from this article, and I think you guys will like this if you give it a click at stadiumrant.com. Again, it's on the bottom of the screen. Kentucky basketball bold roster predictions for 2023-24. So we were just doing a little bit of updates on the basketball decisions, NBA decisions. Some of that is in my article. Go and check it out. We are also on WSBN TV now. I want to get that in. Check us out on WSBN TV, Channel 30. We are part of that network and excited to be a part of that network. It is a world sports broadcasting TV. All you got to do is download BoxCast. If you download BoxCast, you can find us on Apple TV, you can find us on Roku, and you can find us on Fire TV. So you can find WSBN TV, and then you can find us, Channel 30, College Sportscast. So I was going to talk about some Kentucky news today. Throw that up there again. So just a little bit of stuff over the last few days. Cotton Nash died a few days ago, which was my dad's favorite player growing up. And he graduated in 1964. We're talking a long time ago, but he played when my dad was about 11 to 14 and growing up. So he was my dad's favorite player. He was 80 years old. He's actually one of only 13 players to ever play in the NBA and Major League Baseball. And Cotton Nash is one of 13 players to ever do that, to play in both leagues. So check out any kind of article that you want on Cotton Nash. He was an amazing guy and was a great, great player. The time that he left Kentucky in 64, I believe he was the all-time leading scorer with over 1,700 points when he graduated in 1964. Of course, Dan Issel beat him, when he was there a few years later. But when he graduated, he was the all-time leading scorer. Damian Collins today, who transferred from Kentucky, announced that he is transferring to LSU. So he will still be in the SEC. Technically, he did move a little closer to home from Lexington to Baton Rouge. He's from Texas. So I'll give him a B on that about going closer to home, being closer to home. But Damian Collins transferred to LSU. Last week, you had, or over the weekend, you had Lance Ware transferring to Villanova. And we got some NBA decisions to iron out. There's some rumors going around about Reeves. I'm saying this. Don't pay attention to these rumors. It's those late rumors that try to throw you off. I just have a feeling that Reeves comes back to Kentucky, and this is just something that's trying to throw you off. That's my take on it. I believe that's what will happen. What's up, Josh? So Josh is one that read my article, shared my article today. So I appreciate that and put that out there. Josh, I think enjoyed my article. So I appreciate that. So that's just to give you a little bit of update on some Kentucky news. Trying to get to that. Yeah, there's Josh says it was a very good article. And I appreciate that. Thank you much. Like I said, check it out. Bold predictions for the roster for next year. Go to stadiumrant.com to check out that article. So, trying to go through here real quick and see if there's any other breaking news stuff that I need to mention. Kentucky wise. DJ Wagner and Justin Edwards were named Slam Magazine High School All-Americans, incoming freshmen. So I wanted to mention that real quick. Kentucky, the SP Plus rankings from ESPN come out for football, or is updated, not come out, was updated today. Kentucky is ranked 5th in the country on defense. There's only 4 teams ahead of them: Iowa, Texas A&M, Georgia, and Michigan. That's it. 4 teams ahead of Kentucky on the defensive side of the ball in the rankings of the S&P Plus. I said earlier, Chris Livingston scheduled a Lakers workout for tomorrow. I mentioned the Damian Collins. Kennedy Cambridge, Kentucky women's basketball player has transferred to Ohio State. There's some rumors about Julian Phillips, and Kentucky reaches out to Tennessee star Julian Phillips. I'll let you read my article. But so Julian Phillips, I'm hearing, is most likely going to stay in the NBA draft. I don't know how true that is, but he's a former McDonald's All-American. He's transferring. He put his name in, but he also is in the decision to make for the NBA draft. And I'm hearing that it's likely that he stays in the NBA draft. So just to give you a little tidbit there. That's what I'm hearing. So yeah, Josh. So Kentucky's defense is ranked 5th in the country. There's 4 teams ahead of them in the ESPN SP rankings. So I just wanted to throw that out there. It's a pretty good sign.